Hi, I'm Klemen Novak, and I'm Partner Channel Manager as well as Solution Architect here at Docentric.
And my name is Sanja Kolundzija, and I'm Software Architect at Docentric. Today, we are here to present to you a solution to store the documents printed from D365FO in cloud to local network. It is a brand new feature of Docentric AX, available with our latest February release, and we are so excited to have this opportunity to present it here on the DynamicsCon conference. Let me tell you something. I remember back then, 4 or 5 years ago, I couldn't wait to get my hands on D365FO. And I also remember how surprised I was when I realized that being a cloud solution, F&O prevents me from accessing the resources on my local network.
And this causes a real struggle for many companies out there who used to have their output documents such as invoices, orders, or quotations on local network. So in an enterprise environment, there is a lot of automated and manual document post-processing going on. And satellite applications involved in these processes were previously often based on the documents found on the local network.
So now everything changes, and legacy integrations and processes must be adjusted or completely replaced, which increases the costs and delays the F&O project go live. Another big pain for D365F&O users is finding and accessing the documents that were printed. Let's say sales invoices that were emailed to clients and archived in parallel. With standard D365F&O in cloud, such documents are not available out of the box.
We are here today to present a Docentric solution to the described problem. The integration with Azure Files share, which in turn can be mounted as a network drive. In this way, companies are avoiding the additional costs for adjusting the legacy integrations, while users and even employees without D365F&O license have instant access to the documents printed from D365F&O.
Before we continue, there is something important that we would like to announce. After the conference, we are giving away 3 beautiful Sony WH-100XM4 wireless noise-cancelling headphones. If you wish to be one of the 3 lucky winners, here is what you need to do. Watch and listen carefully, as the questions and answers will be revealed during the session. We have already posted a link to our giveaway page in the session chat window. The link is also available at our virtual booth. Follow that link to leave your contact information and take a short quiz. And don't worry, there are just few simple questions, and if you carefully follow our session, they will be a no-brainer for you.
We are thrilled to be on another excellent DynamicsCon conference. So here at Docentric, we are specialized in reporting and document automation. For over a decade, our mission is to provide a great report designer for your business documents and to deliver the missing document distribution features of the standard D365F&O. So when it comes to creating, printing, emailing, distributing, and even archiving business documents, thousands of end users, consultants, and developers worldwide have come to rely upon Docentric. And now I'm giving the screen to Sanja. She will demonstrate the power of our product with the focus on the integration with Azure Files share.
Thank you, Klemen. Before I start with the practical demonstration, let me tell you something about Klemen. He has a remarkable experience in creating amazing business documents and overcoming the output management challenges in D365F&O. So no wonder that he's the one who first in our company raised the awareness of the obstacles we've described previously, and he proposed this elegant solution that we are about to demonstrate. And not just that, he also led the Docentric team that implemented this feature of saving the report output documents to Azure Files. After you've heard this, I hope you will appreciate that I managed to get him to join me for this session. All right, enough with the introduction. It is time to finally see something in practice. In this first example, we will see what standard D365F&O has to offer when we talk about saving files. That means that we will use the standard SSRS format and standard SSRS print destination, in particular file print destination. Let's go and print one sales invoice by using print management and see the result. Report was printed and the file was saved here below. As we can see, file is downloaded and available only to the user who printed the document. Nobody else can access this file unless the user takes additional steps to store it somewhere else. Let's now check the Docentric print destination and see what it has to offer. We see many possibilities here. For example, saving to Azure Blob Storage, saving to Azure Files, to SharePoint, to document management attachments, and in case of on-premises installation, also possibility to save to network shared folders. Today we will focus on Azure Files, but it is possible that not everyone here is familiar with this storage type, so let's say a few words about it. The Azure Storage platform is Microsoft's cloud storage solution. To access its services, we need a storage account. For the purpose of this presentation, we will distinguish between the following Azure Storage accounts. D365FO Azure Storage account. Companies using D365FO in cloud automatically have the Azure Storage account linked to their F&O tenant. And other or external Azure Storage accounts. Why is this important? Because with the Docentric free edition, you can use only the D365FO storage account, while the full edition works with both F&O and external Azure Storage accounts. Azure Storage Platform includes the following data services. Azure Blobs, that is a scalable object store for text and binary data. It includes support for big data analytics through Data Lake. Then Azure Files. It is managed file shares, that's the one we are interested in today. Azure Queues, a messaging store for messaging between application components. Azure Tables, a NoSQL store for schemaless storage of structured data. And Azure Disks, block-level storage volumes for Azure virtual machines. Docentric provides a seamless integration with the first two data storage types. Here we see my Microsoft Azure home, where I'm logged on based on the company subscription and Visual Studio license. If we check the storage accounts, I have created one which I named Docentric Storage, and under that account we see the available data storage types. File shares are the ones that are interesting to us, and I have created this file share where I plan to store the reports created by printing through the Docentric file print destination. Right now it has this folder with few other subfolders. That is a result of some previous printing. Let's say a few words about Azure Files and explain why it is so interesting that we organized this session around it. Azure Files is Microsoft's cloud file system. As we saw previously, we must have access to some storage account. Then, under this storage account, we can use different services, one of them being Azure Files. We will create different file shares for different needs. In this example, we presented one file share that will be used by our accounting department and one for the purchasing. Why is Azure Files interesting? It is interesting because Azure File shares can be accessed from Windows and Windows Server. How is this achieved? To use an Azure File share with Windows, we must mount it directly to a host. By doing so, we see each Azure File share as one network drive. In this way, any employee gets the access to Azure File shares. Remember the other use case where we see the importance of Azure Files, legacy integrations that rely on existing file server names. In a typical topology, each file server name will be mapped to the corresponding Azure Files share. And here is our D365FO, unfortunately completely disconnected from Azure Files. The standard F&O doesn't offer a possibility to route a document from F&O to the selected Azure Files share. So, Docentric to the rescue. When installed as D365 F&O add-on, Docentric AX free or full version provides interface to Azure Files. Let's see it in action. In the second example, we will save the same SSRS format-based document to Azure Files share. We will go with the simplest possible setup. Remember my Docentric storage, and in particular among the file shares, this one here that I'm going to use for the example. This Azure account is external one to my D365, which means for using it, and I will use it for this demo, I need the full Docentric edition. How do we mount this file share to a network drive? You click here Connect. You select to which drive letter you want to map it, and based on that you get here a script that you have to execute in your PowerShell. I already did it, and as a result I got my Z drive with exactly the same content here on Azure and here where I see it locally. What I see here are some folders with some files that I created earlier, and you can see the same content also here on Azure and so on. There is one more thing that is important if you want to access the external Azure account, and that is my case. You would go into Access Keys, Show Keys, and get this connection string. We will shortly see where in the Docentric setup you have to apply this connection string. In the Docentric setup, from the workspace under Related, we have here Azure Storage accounts. And here you will configure the external Azure Storage accounts that you want to use, and here you will apply that connection string that we saw previously on Azure. Now let's go back into the print management for customer invoice. We want to use Docentric print destination, file, save to Azure Files. Let's start with some basic setup. So once again, if you have free version, you won't be able to select here external account. You would leave this empty, and with that you would be using the D365F&O Azure account. I'm going to use the Azure account that I previously presented. The name of the file share, as we saw it there. And for the beginning, I'm going with very simple setup without any folder path. Also, I'm going to go with really basic output file name, so dynamics con. Okay, I will keep this override file if exists. If I keep reprinting the same document, I would get the error without this option, so I would do it this way. And we will later explain this flag here. So let's see with this setup what is going to happen. We see that it was successfully saved, so let's check it. Here in File Shares, here, this is what we got now. We can open it from here, download, and see the result. And also we can make sure that here now this same file appeared, and we can open it from our file system, and we will get the same thing as here.
Hey Sanja, don't forget to show the dynamic folder names.
Oh yes, we have so-called placeholders that give us a lot of possibilities for the dynamic folder names and file names. Obviously, our next example will be with advanced setup, which means that I should first describe our placeholders. Docentric provides different types of placeholders. Some of them are report-specific and some are common to all reports. Some are implemented by Docentric and available out of the box. Some can be configured through user interface. Here, where the report context is known, when I click the button for the placeholders, I will get immediately a list of all report-specific placeholders. The ones that are marked as custom are implemented by Docentric, while these user-defined placeholders are the ones that can be configured here through user interface. And there are also something that we call standard placeholders. They are, with few exceptions, not report-specific, like company-related information, user-related information, worker, and so on and so on. I can use these placeholders to create a really nice dynamic content, in particular folder paths and file names, for example. Using these placeholders opens a lot of possibilities. With the previous setup, if you remember, all files will come out on flat in the same folder. We can automatically get a meaningful folder structure if we use the placeholders in the folder name. For example, previously I created these by account and with different account numbers based on some other setup. And now let's say that I want to have here another folder that would be by date. And then in that one I would have folders for the current year, current month. And let's not forget to have this flag here, create non-existing folders. Let's first do that. So what would be the folder path? I would say by date and then slash. Then the placeholders I would use from these standard placeholders, current year and then current month. So these two I will copy and paste them here. Only here in between I would add one slash. So now I will expect to get here a folder by date, and then under it I would have subfolders based on the current year and current month. Then all the reports would have this name, which is not cool. They would keep replacing each other, so it makes sense also in the output file name to use the placeholders to distinguish between, let's say, different account numbers and invoice IDs. That's what I would use. So here under the placeholders, I would use now from the report specific placeholders, I have customer account ID and there is invoice ID. Copy, go back. So instead of all of this, I will use, for example, this with underscore. Let's see based on this setup what is going to happen. Let's check in Azure, and if we refresh it, here we got the result of printing by date, current year, current month, and this report. And the same thing we should get also here by date and month. Here it is.
Great stuff, Sanja. How simple it is, but also so powerful. Do we have enough time to see more fun stuff? Show us something based on one nice Docentric template, and if we can see some of the emailing improvements, that would be great.
Okay, now he wants me to show off. I can do that. Let's go to the Docentric workspace and to the Docentric report setup for sales invoice. Let's check the print management. We have this previous setup, but now I will say I don't want to use built in SSRS design. I want to use Docentric default template, and we will see which one is default. The same setup for Azure Files. OK. I will add also the copy. And let's say that it goes to email print destination, because it would be pity not to show it. With the Docentric email print destination, there are so many things that can be done. Let's say that I want to use the primary business contact, and the subject will be demo for Dynamics Con. File name, we could use also placeholders. Let's use only invoice ID. For email body, we have this full HTML body editor, and they have some interesting templates, so I'm going to use this one. Obviously, there's a lot of extra text that I don't want, so I will remove all up to here. This looks better. OK. I don't want to really send emails, but I will check under email sending settings. I want to send them through batch processing, so that I see them in the batch email sending status and that I know what's happening with them. Okay, so, and I want this one template that is based on electronic reporting data source to be used. So really all of it, yes, and also let's add security. It will be encrypted, and we will also use some electronic signature, everything that we can do. Let's see, based on this setup, what's going to happen. But I will use some other account so that we see something else created. So for this one, use print management. So what happened now, I should have received here by date. This is for this other account. I would be able to download it, but I should also have it here. Here it is. And we see that it is signed. There are some signature details and also signature appearance. And what about the email? Because we said that the copy should be sent via email. Example here, if we go to batch email sending status, this is the report that has just been added to this table, and I can check the email message, so I can download it. Subject is as I have configured it. A lot of other things set up here. The file, the content from the email body. Let's also open this document. Now we see that also security kicks in, because we could configure when to require the password. And now the document is opened. Let's see now this design. This document is based on the Docentric replica for sales invoice, and we can easily modify it very quickly through the Docentric designer. Let's see first how that design looks. I will actually use another design, this one here, and make it also default, and download it so that we can make modifications on it. Right now we see on a screen one Docentric template or design for the sales invoice report based on the data source for electronic reporting. In the middle we see the design, so that is the place where we are designing our layout. And on the left side is Live Preview. It is constantly rendering our layout based on some sample data that we can see here. This is the toolbar with Docentric AX tools, and here are our templating tools. We call them tagging elements. We use them to bring the data from the report data source, like fields or labels, to organize them, repeat them, group them, calculate some aggregation functions, bring some images, conditionally show or hide things, add subdocuments, and similar. We have here a nice example with item images with terms and conditions at the end. And let's say that I want to make some modifications here. This image is a little larger and different color of this title. If I figure out that I need extra space here, I can make this column a little narrower, and then I can make the image a little larger. Let's say that the document title should be some different color. Let's add something else here without too much reformatting. Let's add the total amount here. It would be a field tagging element bound to main data, sales invoice, invoice base, amount. Here it is. Let's apply some formatting. It will be N2. If I want it to be larger, I need to do what Word has to offer considering formatting. And now if I want to apply this new design, I will save it, go into the Docentric report setup. I will add one more setting that I will call Sales Invoice for Dynamics Con. And I will now attach this document. It will be stored on Azure Blob Storage. If I make it default, it will be used when previewing, so I can go into the invoice journal and preview one document. This is now the result based on the modified template. Different color of the template, added some fields and larger images. Let me remind you to register for our giveaways. If you haven't already done so, there is still enough time until the end of DynamicsCon event. You might be one of the 3 lucky winners of this great headset. Let's review what we have seen today. We described the motive for integrating with Azure Files, and that is seeing the files in our file system. We saw how different Azure Storage accounts integrate well with the Docentric AX free and full version. We explained how the Azure file share should be mounted to the local network drive, and we verified that the files are visible and accessible in it. We printed different documents and explored the configurability of our integration with Azure Files. We saw how Docentric Template Designer enables fast development of beautiful business documents. And we also quickly looked at other advanced output management features such as emailing. With this, we are finishing our presentation. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I'm sure that you got some new ideas how to automate your business processes.
If you liked what you saw, contact us to try out everything we showed you today and much more. You won't be disappointed. Thank you for watching us and have a lovely day.
Bye!